Hello and welcome, listeners, to That's a Good Card. I'm Ya, and with me is a carefully carefree Kyle, and he's going to have the challenge of getting me to say, That's a good card. While Kyle will be doing the convincing, I'll be playing the devil's advocate. Now is also a good time to remind you to hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to us. If you have some thoughts that differ from the two of us, leave us a comment below and let us know. Or make a suggestion for the card you think can change the CEDH meta. All right, Kyle, what card did you bring for us today?
All right. Yeah, we have an interesting one today. But first, before we go any further, we have our new segment, the Discord community highlight. All right. So this week's highlight is going to be, like my singing. Yeah.
I love your singing. I do. I love your singing.
And the
People think
jingle
I might
that's
be singing.
definitely going in.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. The Discord community highlight for today is actually our super secret Patreon channel. So we wanted to take this time to highlight the few folks that we have who have access to this channel through our That's a Great Card Patreon membership. That's going to be Connor, Crazy Axe, Doug's dad, Bark Bark, Patrick, Sean in the Ice, and Yev. Thank you all to all of you who have access to this channel. And there's a really funny comment that was made by Connor specifically today, who didn't even know and doesn't know. We have a 1 week lag time when it comes to recording our podcast. Our podcasts come out on Monday, and we record on Monday. And I just wanted to highlight a really funny request from Connor in our Patreon channel that's super relevant to today.
I actually don't know what you're bringing.
So Connor said, quote, I want a 3+ hours piece of content about Knuckles and how he slots in every deck in the format.
That makes sense. Yeah. I see where we're going.
So if you want to have some super secret conversations at the Patreon channel, check out the Patreon link. And this comment by Connor is going to lead us into today's card, which Connor had no idea we were doing. And this card is Knuckles the Echidna. Now, Knuckles the Echidna is a new card, and we don't really cover new cards very often. It is a 2 colorless, 2 red pip creature. Well, it's a legendary creature, Echidna Warrior. It has double strike, trample, haste. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. And then it has another ability called Treasure Hunter. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 30 or more artifacts, you win the game. That's right, you win the game. All right, so let's kind of talk about where we're seeing this currently. And our numbers are going to get a little weird here because this is kind of like one of the first times that we've reviewed a newer card that's come out, right?
It's probably the newest card that we've ever brought. Like we've brought Downey before.
Mhm.
Actually, when you suggest this, I took a look. Downey, Talongates, a Madara.
Maybe another MH3 card, like Disruptor Flute or something like that.
Something like that. Like
Yeah.
those are like the newest, like within a couple of like weeks of actual release, maybe a month and a half. Like normally we tend towards, I would say, older cards.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Our normal bread and butter is definitely bringing cards that, may have seen played in the past or are like forgotten gems and kind of bringing it to the forefront and talking about those cards. But this is a little different. And I think that, I'm bringing this card because it has a special place in my heart. In the early testing that I have, I just feel like it's an incredible card. And I literally want to push today for it to be in every single red list out there. Like if you can run this card, you should be running this card. It's a tough challenge. It's a very difficult challenge for me to kind of convince everybody this is the case. But that's kind of what I want to do. Not just it's good in these top decks that we're seeing it in, which are, do you want to read them off?
It is being run in Magda, Najila, Niv Mizzet Perun, Blue Farm, and of course, Corvold.
Yeah, and we had to throw Corvold in there at the end, or at least we had to. I had to.
We know for sure
because I played it in there.
Sure, it's seeing play. Actually, at this point, you should show everybody. Hopefully, flash it on the screen now. Your special edition.
Oh my god! Yeah, I'll post the picture up here.
Take that in, folks. Take in that beauty right now.
Oh my god, my secret layer still hadn't shipped. And when it became legal, obviously, I wasn't one of the lucky few who got their secret layer like super early, like immediately. That was not me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been waiting for this card. So I had to draw up a little post-it note proxy while I'm waiting for this card. And it is a thing of beauty. And it is here on the screen for you to enjoy. And
It's
please
good.
note the
So good.
card that it is being hosted on. You're absolutely right. That is Dockside Extortionist, RIP. Anyway. But we're seeing like 307 bracket 5 decks that are running this card, which in a time that this has been legal, that's like really high. So I think that people are already aware that this card is good, but like it needs more love, like significantly more. I kind of just looked back into the tournament that I most recently played in this weekend, which is a 64-person tournament in the Pacific Northwest. And I was kind of looking at all the top deck lists that are in red that could potentially run Knuckles. And I wasn't seeing it. So if that's the case,
People don't have it yet.
kind of like me and how my list didn't have it in this tournament that I just played in because I don't have a copy yet. And I was too lazy to make a proxy that a judge would okay. Because mine was definitely not getting okayed. I just like pulled it out for this time, for this tournament, and I'm hoping that other people just don't have access to the card yet, and that's why we're not seeing it in every single list that
I
can
think
run
so.
it.
I definitely think so.
But anyway, I want to talk about it because if that's not the case, and you are not playing this card, or you do not have a copy of this card, go run to the store and grab one. That's what I'm talking about. But anyway, do you want to kind of talk about this card a little bit? Have you tested it yet? Before I get into my points.
No, I haven't tested it yet because unlike you, I didn't I'm also waiting. I also picked this up. I think after you did, I was looking at it and I'm actually really curious because I think that after everything is said and done, people will look at this card and with this set, this secret lair drop,
Mm-hmm.
and the card that definitely got the hype was Shadow.
Yeah.
But I think this is the vastly more playable of the two of those two specifically, right? I think they're all were pretty good to be honest with you. The whole set wasn't bad.
Mm-hmm.
But for CEDH in particular, Shadow first definitely got the biggest like hype, whereas this one not as much. I don't think.
It wasn't as
Definitely not as
flashy. It didn't make as big of a splash for sure.
yeah.
Just because I feel like people see split second and they're like, oh my gosh. I mean, that's us, right? We did so many podcasts on split second cards and we're like, oh my gosh, split second.
Yep.
But this one's definitely kind of been under the radar. And some people may disagree with that. Some people are like, oh, I'm already on this train. And good for you if that's the case. But the fact that I'm looking at some recent tournaments this weekend, like 60 plus player tournaments and not seeing it in
Yep.
every single list that can run it means that it's probably being underplayed. And I'll get into my points of why here. So, my first point of why Knuckles should be in literally every red deck that can run it is that it's not a 4 CMC creature in practice. Now, you might be looking at this card and say, well, obviously, not every deck is playing it because it's a 4 cost creature. But in reality, it's a 2 cost creature, right? That's sometimes even a 1 cost creature. And maybe in some fringe scenario, it could potentially be a 0 cost creature. And what I mean by that is since it
Oh
has
yeah, yeah.
haste, the net mana used is going to be lower. So you play, let's say you play this card in the most vanilla sense. Play this card for 4 mana, go to combat, hit somebody. It has double strike. It's going to trigger twice, once on the first combat damage, once on the second combat damage. Okay, great. Now you have made 2 treasures in your second main phase. So you paid 4 for your Knuckles with your 4 mana, but you have 2 treasures back. Net, you lost 2 mana. So for Knuckles, getting deployed on that same turn, it really only cost you 2 mana.
Yep.
I will say anecdotally, for me playing this card, since it's come out, I've been testing this card, and there has not been a single time where I got Knuckles out and I did not get at least 2 treasures going to combat. Hasn't been a
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
In terms of like blockers. It hasn't been removed yet, but I guess somebody could potentially try to remove it. Then
It's
that would be the
hard.
scenario where that would be the
It's
case. But
difficult
it's got
to
a 4 butt.
2/4.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a 2/4, so it's difficult to do. So I can already speak on the fact that you are getting 2 no matter what. And in a lot of scenarios, you're getting 3 right away. I'm thinking like in a situation where you have a Ragavan early and you have something extra, right? You might be able to potentially, if you had a dork, and let's say your second land for turn was an ancient tomb and you had a simian spirit guide, you didn't need to actually use that dork to cast the Knuckles. Now you can send that dork out.
Yep.
There are scenarios where that is, and it doesn't have to be a simian spirit guide, it could be a Mox Diamond, whatever. There are scenarios where you can potentially swing out with your dork as well as swing out with Knuckles on turn 2 or turn 3 or whatever,
Yep.
whenever this is being deployed, and get 3 treasures back for only paying 4 total mana to get Knuckles in the first place. So another card that works really well and synergizes with it to get it out early and allow your dorks to become attackers with you is Tinderwall, because Tinderwall will instantly crack and make that 2 red, so it makes it easier for you to cast Knuckles. So as long as you have a Tinderwall deployed and a Soul Ring, for
Ancient Tomb.
example, right? Ancient
Yeah,
Tomb, it
Soul
doesn't
Ring.
even matter. Yeah, it could be Ancient Tomb, and you had a Mox Time in turn 1. That's what made you cast the Tinderwall, and now you have that. So there are scenarios where it happens. Of course, you have to have a really good starting hand to have those extra,
But
like
it's doable.
to potentially have a dork
Yeah,
to attack with
doable for sure.
turn 2 or turn 3 and be able to cast Knuckles at the same time. Turn 3, it's a lot easier. Turn 2, it's difficult. It kind of has to be a Magic Christmas Dreamland, but it can happen. But yeah, that's my first point, is just like, don't look at this card as a 4-drop card. It is not a 4-drop card. You are still able to develop your board or play an Orcish Bowmaster, play whatever the heck you want with that 2 extra mana, and deploy Knuckles at the same time as a mana generator that pressures life totals. What are your thoughts on this? Kind of like, if you had to put a price tag on Knuckles, how much is it costing you?
I mean, it's real similar to me. This point of yours makes me think of the card I think of first that I don't think everybody will think of. Maybe you will, is Dahada, right? Dahada
Mm-hmm.
does a similar thing,
Yeah.
right? Like at the very like most of the time you're just gonna bin Dahada's a planeswalker. You can -3 her and basically mill 4 cards and then make treasures off of anything that you don't put into your hand. It's and you can put legendaries into your hand,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of a thing. So most of the time Dahada's net neutral, right? Like you're getting your mana back,
Yep.
right? At worst, like you may mill a card that you're like, ooh, I kind of need that, and it'll be some kind of legendary like a Lotho. And so you make 3 treasures, right? And so now Dahada costs you 1 pip, right? Whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. And so I like this point. I think that this is really strong because you're right. Like if you get this down early, people aren't going to block. It's a 2/4, a Timna, a Kinnan player, like a kind of naked Sisay, like without any other legendaries. They're not blocking, right?
Mm-mm.
Like those are common decks in the meta right now. They're not going to like Malcolm. They're not blocking you. You're going to get your treasures, right? Plus, you have first strike. They can't even touch you.
Double strike, which is
Um,
better than first
double
strike.
strike. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. Yeah, double strike. They can't touch you.
Yeah.
And that's why the double strike is really the double strike and the haste and the trample just really puts it over the top.
Yeah, exactly. Because like all 3 of those combined is just the Magic Christmas Dreamland. If they do decide to, well, one, let's start at the top. With the haste, you're able to attack right away and get your mana back. So effectively
Yeah,
making Knuckles a 2-cost creature. With the double strike, blocking becomes a nightmare and is likely not to get blocked. And then the
yeah.
trample means that even in the event that it does get blocked,
Especially if
damage is going to
you put a
get through
dork.
at
Yep,
some point,
yep.
right? Unless
Yep.
you have something that's 4 toughness. But that point that you just made leads me to my second point, which is forcing your opponents into bad trades to deny you treasures feels just
Mm.
as good as gaining the treasures has felt for me. Um, so additionally, like in the same vein, your life total may be like inherently more protected, I would say, in the early game because people want to leave up a potential blocker for Knuckles, right? So if somebody doesn't want to get hit by the Knuckles, they might not move to combat with something that they are okay with blocking. If they have something that has 5 toughness, they're unlikely. Let's say there's a 5/5 orc army, right? They're unlikely to go to combat because they want to protect themselves from Knuckles coming through. Um, so I think that even if your opponents are, look, we're in CEDH. So if everyone is playing good creatures, which they are, every single deck is trying to play good creatures that do something. If your opponents are blocking with your creatures, then now all of a sudden you just have removal on a stick, right? And not only is Knuckles going to generate the treasures, but the other creatures that you are playing are generating treasures in that same combat phase and are likely going to get through because there's almost always in CEDH favorable attacks. There's just less creature giant board states being built up than in other formats. Well, mostly not even other formats, more like than casual. You're not getting these giant battle cruisers like setups with like a bunch of 8/8s and 12/12s and like people blocking and ready to block at all times and waiting to swing out until they have an overrun effect. Like we're not seeing that. So even if somebody takes an unfavorable trade against the Knuckles, likely one at least one damage is getting through. So Knuckles is going to get one, right? Let's say it blocks with a bird of paradise. Somebody blocks with bird of paradise. Still going to get damage to go through. So you'll still make your treasure. Well, it doesn't even have, that's the thing. It has to have a two, but now that we're talking through is even better point, right? So in order to deny you a single treasure, it has to have at least two toughness. So the one
Okay.
one chump blocker doesn't even do anything because it doesn't
Right.
care about how much damage
Trample.
it's dealing. It's just the fact that it is dealing damage. So
Yep.
like a bop would do nothing. There's no point to block with a bop. Now, if you had a delighted halfling, I guess a delighted halfling could deny Knuckles one singular treasure if it blocks,
True.
right? Because it has a two
Yep.
butt. So
Yep.
even in that scenario, now you're killing the delighted halfling, still getting a single treasure at least from Knuckles, plus still getting treasures from whatever else is attacking and getting through. Whether that's like a fairy mastermind flying in, it doesn't matter, right? So you've now effectively made Knuckles into a removal piece for ramp plus a mana generator. And that's really cool. What are your thoughts on this, y'all? Would you ever really feel like you're in a scenario where you have to block the Knuckles with some sort of chump like a delighted halfling?
No, not generally. I mean, maybe in my Timna Dargo, right? But like,
Yeah.
there's a potential chance I have Dargo out, in which case, like, good luck. You're probably not looking at swinging at me anyways,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I was thinking maybe
In that chance,
Magda. That's like the one list where like the
Magda.
difference between four treasures and five treasures is winning or losing the game sometimes.
Oh, huge.
So
Yeah.
like maybe in that scenario that's the case. But in a list like mine, in Corvold is just like make
They're
a
not
mana draw
blocking
a
you.
card. Like what's it?
Yes.
What's another card, right? Corvold
Yes.
can have the Knuckles one extra Knuckles treasure if the Ristic Study player can draw every time he casts the spell.
Right. Right.
Propaganda. No. um yeah, so that's my second point is just like everything about the design of this card is is just designed for the combat to be so freaking efficient. So I'm super stoked about that part. And if my opponents want to make bad trades and still give me treasures, sure, go for
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, my third point. I didn't really know how to say what this third point would be or like how to describe it, but we're gonna do a little role play here, y'all. All right, I'm gonna cast a Chord of Calling. X equals 4.
Whoa, 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 buddy. What are you gonna get?
Sidebar in my head. This is Kyle thinking. Beep, boop, 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 boop. Oh man, he's got a counterspell. Oh, well, I was gonna go get this ruthless technomancer and win the game, but if he has a counterspell, I got to politic. I got to figure out a way for this to resolve. What can I say I'm gonna get that he's not gonna be afraid of? Uh, that's it. Off the top rope. Um. Oh, dude, don't counter that. I'm just gonna go get Knuckles. I just need a treasure generator. That's it. You're gonna counter my spell? I'm just getting Knuckles the Echidna. I'm just trying to go fast. End scene. So that's my third point. Yeah. Oh, listeners, if we were a video podcast, you'd see yeah very red in the face, just laughing at my excellent acting skills. Which I don't really get why you're laughing. It's pretty incredible acting.
Please, bonus points, please. Like, keep in your backpack from now on. If this scenario plays out, you just slowly pull from your backpack a set of gloves in the same, like, just white gloves with like these little knuckles on the back. Listeners, you'll see when you
This
look at
is
the art, you'll know what I
This is
mean.
a sidebar for all those people who are actually trying to build high powered or like CEDH knuckles. If you go to a tournament and you're not wearing those gloves, what are you
Oh
doing with your
man,
life? What are you
come
doing
on,
with your
you
life?
gotta.
But anyway, going back to my third point, I just think that it is an excellent pivot card. So it's great to deploy early, right? For obvious reasons. It's a mana engine. And it's excellent to pivot when you're trying to knuckles when you're trying to go for a win but get shown interaction, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking in my head I'm going to try to go tutor for a ruthless technomancer to the board, right? Maybe use it. That's a good card special. Lively Dirge, you know. Someone could think
Mm-hmm.
what are you going to get? I have flash you a fierce guardianship. Just say, look, I'm just getting knuckles. That's it. I'm just trying to set up. Like, it's not a problem. We're in a meta right now where the politicking has gone weirdly towards like, are you pushing? Are you pushing? Everybody just talks about whether or not they're pushing,
Yeah.
and it's so weird. It feels like Doesn't make any sense to me. I never say that, but that's like the world we're living in right now. So if you say, no, I'm just setting up, I'm not pushing, your stuff generally doesn't get countered, right? So if that's the case, being able to have something that's like a high value piece for you that is not going to raise alarm bells, even though it kind of should, just a great thing to have. I really like having something that I can pivot to. It's very similar to like, if you're trying to do a tutor for two and people are like, are you getting ground abolisher? It's like the first thing that comes to everybody's mind, right? Are you getting a ground abolisher? And like maybe in your head you were like, shit, I was getting a ground abolisher, but now you know it's not going to resolve. So you're like, no, I'm just getting an Orcish Bowmaster and police the table. That's all I'm getting. And they're like, oh, okay, all right,
Okay.
I pass on that. You know, so it's like it's an interesting thing. At the same time, some people bluff with that kind of stuff of saying like, what are you going to get? Like they actually have it. But if you get actually shown a card, if you see them flick the fierce guardianship, like show it to you without casting it, maybe this is a good card to pivot to. That I think gets you just enough and not enough for somebody to want to use counter magic. And who knows, maybe your follow up because of the 2 mana that you're going to get back from Knuckles will allow you to cast a Final Fortune and then jam next turn. That's a nice thing about Knuckles is when you play it, you could say like, look, I'm just going to play a Knuckles. I have 4 mana. Play my Knuckles. I'm moving to combat. Okay, great. Make 2 treasures. Final Fortune. It's the perfect amount of mana.
It's pretty good.
What do you think about that point, yeah? If you're playing against me, well, this is probably going to be a bad thing because you just counter everything I do. If you're playing against me on
Probably
Corvold,
the best call.
and I'm lively dirging, and you say, "What are you going to get?" And I say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm just getting Knuckles. I'm setting up." Would you still counter? Would you fire off that counter?
Probably not, because like I think the right call in your deck is like any of the landfall shenanigan stuff, and this is very not
Super
that,
depends on
right? Like,
setup, but yeah,
yeah, it's really not that. Like, it's not. I mean, there, listeners, there is a world if you sit down across from Kyle and he does play this. This is Kyle loves talking about spending 4 mana that wins you the game. This is technically on the card. It says
you
wins you
win
the
the
game.
game.
You win the game. And there is a
Absolutely.
world, a really messed up world, and the game's probably gone to a bad place for Kyle, where he has to just like ruthless technomancer his Corvold with like almost 30 counters on
If
it,
I
right?
ruthless
And
Psychomancer my
makes
Corvold with 30
and
counters
makes
on it and I
30
don't win
treasures
on that turn, yeah, there's no way.
the next turn. It's
No,
the next
there's
turn
no
because it's the
way. There would have
next
to be like a
turn. You have to
Drannith out
final
or
fortune.
something like that. There would
Right.
literally have to be a way that I can't recast Corvold because every circumstance I would. But anyway, we're getting derailed. Not everybody
Yeah,
who
we're
listens to
totally
this
getting real.
podcast plays Corvold or cares about Corvold.
Maybe they should.
But shout out the
But
ones who
anyways,
do. But
yeah.
yeah, I think that's just like a nice little pivot. I think that's a good part of politicking that a good thing that has developed out of politicking is kind of like this take an inch, right? Mentality where you're just like just trying to inch your board state forward, just inch, just see what you can get without eating a counterspell. Just take a little bit at a time. And if you can get Knuckles onto the board, through politics and just say this is just the mana engine, awesome. Good for you.
You need mana. You need mana.
Fun fact, yes, mana is needed to do
It's
things.
like a really convoluted mana dork.
Yeah.
That's what this is. It's just a mana dork.
That punches.
Yeah.
All right. My fourth point is that there's benefits to this with additional combats. So, like, I couldn't not
Mm.
talk about Najeela in this card. And what's funny is when this card was first teased, I think, I don't know if it was when it was teased or leaked. I don't even know. I remember
Probably
seeing like a
spoiled.
Reddit post about Knuckles and whether or not it was going to be good. And all people talked about in the entire thing was this is a Najeela card. And it's like, yeah, like I agree 100%. This is a warrior. It's a Najeela card. It makes treasures in combat. It has a great synergy with Najeela's additional combat benefit. So if you have even one more pip and you're able to get it on 3 people and your Knuckles has double strike, you're making 4 mana. So then you just need one more pip to do it again. So like there is, if you have something else with double strike, you potentially go infinite. But there is just I would be remiss if I didn't go through this whole podcast and not mention the synergy that this card has with additional combats with something like Najeela. Because it's not just like
Mm.
when you go to combat or when combat phase starts, this triggers. It's every time he deals damage. So if you keep going to additional combats, you'll keep making treasures.
Yep.
So just wanted to point that out. It's not super relevant in the meta recently. I can't remember the last time I saw a Nagila in my meta. I bet you there's a lot of Nagila pilots in different metas, so look, take that with a grain of
Oh
salt.
yeah,
But
they're definitely
yeah,
everywhere for
they're
sure.
everywhere, but unfortunately not. They're everywhere but the Pacific Northwest. I have not seen one in a long time. I have a Nagila deck. Actually, no, just for fun. I haven't seen one at a tournament, but I know someone else who does play Nagila. But just for fun CEDH and not
Yep.
TEDH. But anyway, yeah, great benefits with additional combats. And my last point is the alternate way of winning this could be relevant in certain lists. Like, yes, having 30 treasures, there is a world where
You
that
should
is
probably
relevant.
win.
You should probably win before this is ever relevant, but you never
But
know.
it's the thing.
The one
It's
thing I could
possible.
think of is if you're going to time and somebody has one ring protection and your deck is built in a way that can't win through one ring protection, or your way to win through one ring protection was exiled, you could probably generate infinite treasures and then Final Fortune, pass your upkeep, have Knuckles out, win. Like that's the only really time I could think
Possible.
of
Yes,
this
it's a
being a
possibility.
thing. Yeah. I mean, like it would be really cool in like a Dargo deck or like a Corval deck where they're under Dranith or something like that, where you can make a million treasures and then pass your turn. I Sure, there is some less than 1% chance of it being relevant, but it does win through one ring protection. All right, that's my last point. I guess I should probably add one more point, which is like,
What's that?
well, I just wanted to like make sure that people understand that like this card gets compared to professional facebreaker a lot, and I didn't want to just make it this episode like a professional facebreaker or Knuckles kind of podcast, because even though they are very, very similar, they are different as well. The main differentiator is like the mana back on arrival with the haste, but I think PFB provides card advantage, you know,
Huge.
through its impulse
Huge.
kind of thing, which is really huge. I don't think that this is necessarily a slot one in over the other. I think it's more of like a conversation of, oh, do you want to generate mana over time? Okay, do you want to do it twice? Um, that's kind of where I'm at on this. I don't want this to be a do I play a professional facebreaker or Knuckles, because I don't necessarily think that that's like the case. I don't think it has to be one or the other. I just think it's like, yeah, you should play this card. And like it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to cut professional facebreaker exactly for Knuckles. That's all I'm saying. But I'm just trying to make sure that people understand that it's not just like a one-to-one move, because I think a lot of people, when they see a new card printed, they look for the card that looks the most like that card in their deck, and then they ask themselves if they need to swap that out or not. And I don't think that's necessarily how we should be building decks. But anyway, I digress. I just wanted to make sure we mentioned professional facebreaker before we move into downsides.
Well, because I'm gonna bring it up right
Oh, are
now.
you? Oh, shoot.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't
for
know
sure.
that. My bad.
No, 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 no,
Okay.
no.
Okay. If we want to turn it into that, absolutely, we can talk about that. If we want to,
It's going to be.
okay,
I
let's do
do
it.
hear what you're saying, Kyle. I hear what you're saying. I don't think that I'm not saying this as like a. I agree 100% with what you said, but I think that when people look at this, because you're right, everybody will do this first and foremost. So we have to talk about it, right? Like a one-to-one basis. Like I think that this it's not just professional facebreaker. That's my point here, right?
Okay.
That my first point is that it's not just professional facebreaker. I think this card archetype of swinging in for damage, like I think I called it long way to mana dork, right? Like
Man dorking the long way.
right,
Yeah.
right, like mana dork with extra steps. This archetype, Watsy is really pushing into this one a lot more, right? Is with like so it feels overcrowded, right?
Mhm.
In terms of ways to make mana that isn't necessarily just tapping down a mana dork, right? You are tapping, but sometimes it has vigilance, all of that. So this does feel like it competes with professional facebreaker, which you've already mentioned, a Rev the Tithe Taker, um, Van Street Thief, which doesn't see play, I don't
No, I
think.
think that card's bad.
The Van is a new card from Final Fantasy that is almost like a Ragavan, except not.
I'll read
Um,
it because I don't think a lot of people are even going to know about it, just because it's one, it's new, but two, it's I don't think it's on this. I don't
it's
think it's on the. It should
worse,
deserves to be in the same
but
conversation
but
with the
it
rest of these
does
cards.
but it does the same kind of thing
Yeah,
in
so
a similar way.
it's two in a red for a legendary creature human scout to 2/2. When one or more scouts, pirates, and or rogues you control deal damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library. You may cast it. If you don't, create a treasure token. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, put a 1/1 counter on each scout, pirate, and rogue you control. Yeah, it's just a super restricted version of these other ones, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Very, very much so. It's very restricted. It's
It does have a combo though.
much worse. It does.
I think it does. I think that's like oh man, I'm off the dome
Well,
here.
we're gonna be on the off the rails here, but just curious.
I
But
you know what? I'm not even gonna try to find it.
yeah, that's fine.
Listeners,
Don't worry
tell me
about
in
it.
the comments because I'm like
Yeah, let us know.
94% sure there's a combo for this. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Oh well.
There is another card that I actually didn't even list in my notes, but I did look up when I was like looking up notes for this, and that's Goldspan Dragon, right? It is
I don't even
somewhat
know what
similar
that
to this.
is.
Goldspan Dragon? Oh wow. Goldspan Dragon is a 5 cost dragon. It's 3 and 2 red pips. It has flying, haste. Whenever this creature attacks or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure token. Treasures you control have sacrifice this artifact, add 2 mana of any color,
Had two
right?
men
And
of any
so,
one color, right?
of any one color,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that it's similar to this in the fact that it doesn't necessarily need to deal damage, but like your treasures now all of a sudden tap for and create 2 of any color,
Hmm.
right? Which again is not the same as what Knuckles does, but it does a similar effect of like kind of like doubling your mana, right? In terms of like
Yeah.
getting you there. And like I said, I think that there's a lot of choices, and that in a space that feels overcrowded in some ways, most people are going to look at this and kind of do that 1-to-1, right?
Yeah. I mean,
And that's why I think that it's initially not going to see the play, because at first, on an initial glance, it is just this is a real close. I think it's really close to professional facebreaker, but it doesn't necessarily have that card advantage that professional facebreaker gives you.
yeah. I mean, that's like if we really just like dumb it down, it's like the benefit or the positives on each one of them. One, Knuckles is bigger booty, more it packs more of a punch, which is kind of funny because it's competing against professional facebreaker, but Knuckles has spikes on his hands, I guess. Um and
Yeah, that's fair.
it has haste, right?
I like it. I like
It
it.
has haste. And professional facebreaker and Rev, because I'm not really gonna bring Van into this. Sorry, Van. Don't have haste. So that's like the main thing is what is that in practice, Knuckles is 2 mana when professional facebreaker is 3 and Rev is 4. That being said, the benefit that you get to PFB is the impulse or the ability to like exile a card off the top, have that as card advantage is awesome. It also synergizes with other things that you use to make treasures so that you can keep feeding it. So it's almost like an engine in its
Correct.
own right, right?
Yep. Correct. Correct. You're correct.
For Rev, it's the benefit that you're getting for paying a premium is that the card's advantage that you're getting is hidden information. I think that that's like the biggest benefit to Rev itself. Also, like the death touch is relevant. It gives evasion to other things, which is nice. So it can be more consistent when it hits. You're paying a premium for that, effectively double what you're paying for Knuckles. That being said, these things like the haste or no haste doesn't super matter with all of these because you can have things on the board when you're playing it later and then still get the effect. So it's like the haste aspect of it is most relevant in the early game
Correct.
to propel your
Correct.
game plan forward earlier.
Correct. No, I completely agree with that. Right. Like I think it does pay itself back really quickly. I definitely agree there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do kind of, I guess I do want to push back on the idea that it's hard to not look at this as a 1-for-1, because depending on the list, right, it can just feel real tight to make cuts, right? Especially potentially in that like the creature suite, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this a lot. Like, not a lot of, while creatures are really relevant and they are really powerful and they provide a lot of value, and it's becoming more and more so. I feel like the slots is like, I think I would consider a CEDH list being moderately high, being like in that 24-25 range. Anything above that is a very like kind of specialized list. And by that I mean like 26 to 30,
Mm-hmm.
forbid like 40 like creatures. Like
Shout out
that's like,
Tazri.
right, a lot of creatures. Or like a very specialized Kinnan list, right? And we'd have already kind of gone over that with when Hire was on, is like some of these lists are just not running they don't have as many slots
So
as
you don't
I would
if
have
you don't
thought.
want to be creature dense, then
Yeah,
you feel like you have to replace it. Okay.
yeah,
Thought exercise for everyone who's listening. Post in the comments, whether on YouTube or Spotify, your rankings
or Apple.
or Apple Podcasts. I don't know if Apple Podcasts lets you actually comment still on. I
So
actually
come
know
to
they
our
don't.
Discord,
Yeah,
please,
come to the
if you're
Discord
an
if
Apple.
you're an Apple Podcast listener. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, rank them for us. So Knuckles, Professional Facebreaker, Rev. That's my order. I truly feel like that's my order. I think that everyone who's in white has a really good case to put PFB number one because you have access to Tithe. And if you have Tithe and PFB together, it's kind of just like you win the game. Sometimes it feels like that at least. So, but in a vacuum, I think I would rank it Knuckles, PFB, Rev, and then Van way down. You know those little carrot emojis to show less than? We're putting Van way down there. But anyway, if there's a Van enjoyer in the chat, let me know.
I think most listeners would put it at Professional Facebreaker, Knuckles, Rev. I'll be honest with you, Rev is probably underplayed. I mean, I saw it for a little
Hmm.
bit, but I didn't really see it
Tiny
do that
hands?
much.
Hmm. I'm gonna put Rev on the screen. Take a look at how small those hands are.
I was like, "What are you talking about? What are
In
you?
the
Are you
artwork for
referencing
Rev,
some?"
if everyone in my meta just says tiny hands because Rev's hands are so small.
That's so funny. I never caught. I never put that together. I don't know if I've ever
Yeah,
noticed.
yeah,
That's wild.
yeah. But
Um.
anyway,
Anyways, but yeah, I think we've kind of really gone over that point a lot. I'm really interested in seeing what people kind of say. The second downside is there are going to be times, again, this is super low hanging fruit, that double red pip feels harder to achieve.
absolutely.
You mentioned this is you mentioned Tinderwall. This
Hmm.
is assuming you're in green. And in which case, like if you're in green, you're probably not struggling to make kind of like colors or pips that it's not going to be that difficult for
More or
you.
less.
I don't think. But like in Grixis shells, like it can be, or like even in Mardu, right? For the most part, I will give you that it's not difficult for me to make red. Red is the easiest color to make for sure. I do have to like slot in cards to make white specifically,
Hmm.
because and black has rituals as well, and so black and red not that difficult, but still there are going to be games where sometimes the RNG just gives you colorless pips, right? Like it's
Yeah.
rare, but it still happens way more often than not where you get like one pip that
You
matters
get
for a
only
while.
colorless pips, and thank goodness you're playing Tag C special. We talked about last week, Eldrazi Confluence, and you can
Confluence
clear the board, and then next turn deploy your
next time.
knuckles.
Or you're playing another Tag C special, Talon Gates, and you're now filtering that
Ooh,
through Talon Gates to make that other
crazy.
colored pip. But uh
No,
that double red can feel, oh, early game can feel like, oh,
the double red
to
definitely
me.
matters. And like, what's funny, I'll help your point. I'm trying to make the point that every single deck should in red should be able to run this. There's one deck that I'm like, yeah, maybe not. I was talking to
What's
my
that?
buddy who's building Rogthras right now and is unironically thinking about cutting Volcanic Island and Taiga from their land base because they
Whoa,
don't
explain this
need
to me.
any red pips. Like they
Oh yeah.
legitimately are like I am a Simic deck. The only red cards they play, Deflecting Swat, Flare of Duplication. And right now, they used to be on Breach. Right now, they're not even on Breach. so,
Wild.
so
I
they're
love this.
playing just Flare of Duplication, Deflecting SWAT, which are
And
both
that's mainly
free.
because,
That's great.
yeah,
Only because
totally free.
Roger's broken. Isn't
Right.
that
Yeah,
crazy?
yeah.
If that's the
That
case,
is crazy.
don't play Knuckles. If you don't play Volcanic Island and Taiga,
If
yeah,
you're a
probably
red deck
not.
that isn't red,
Yeah, if you're a red deck that isn't red, maybe not.
don't play Knuckles.
Oh, that's
That's
funny.
actually wild.
Yeah, that was a conversation I had
That's
outside the LGS the other day. So anyway,
We're not recommending that.
I think it's rad, but nah, whatever.
It is cool.
It is, yeah. Anyway, let's get into our third downside.
The third downside is, this is kind of like my first point. When we're looking at all of these different cards and we're looking at your last point, or not the last point, but the point about like the role play point, that got me thinking. The fact that you can kind of talk people out of like hitting your tutor, right? Because like, oh, I can deflect and say that I'm just going to get knuckles instead, right? Leads me to believe that this is much more of like a really fair card rather than a broken card, right? Like if it's not one of those cards that's, and maybe this is why you should play it. Maybe it's why people won't play it, right? Because it's not a card that sets off alarm bells,
Yeah, it's not.
right? At least in this current time and in this current part of the meta, the fact that like you can go, oh, I'm just gonna get this little thing, right,
Yeah.
isn't necessarily helping the point, especially when like a professional facebreaker is providing so much
It's
more,
providing card advantage. And I think that's the
right?
point that you hone in on. You say
It's
because
huge. It's
because
huge.
Knuckles is not card advantage. It's like 100% just mana generation plus a little bit of denial. And then in the list that really rock with it, like a Nagila or a Magda, is like part of a win con. Like it's like developing the win con, right? Um, but if it's not doing that, it's not card advantage, which is like good and bad. It's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, but that's really all of my points here. I think those are the main points that most people listening to this or have been considering this card will kind of really come up with. If you think of anything else that I didn't,
Nah.
like let us know. But I think these are like the main things.
Yeah. I mean, the card itself isn't super complicated.
Mm-mm.
It's adjacent to things that we've seen before. So yeah, it might be just the fact that we are talking about this could get people to use it more or test it more, which is all I'm trying to do here.
Yeah, for sure.
There's no like super secret hidden tech with it. I mean, that I'm aware of. If you have super secret
Let us know,
Knuckles
please.
tech,
Can you let us
let
know?
me know. Also, come in the Discord if you've made a Knuckles CEDH commander deck like mono red. Please come drop that
Ooh,
deck list in the
yeah.
Discord because I think
Let
it's
us know
funny
for
to
sure.
look at that.
Funny as in like, oh, I love it.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm just playing with you all. Knuckles, Knuckles Commanders. I'm so sorry. It was a prank. It was a prank. No, I would like to see it
Oh
though.
my god.
Anyway, what point of mine do you think was the best point for playing Knuckles?
It's your first point. The fact that it can, if you can get it down early, it's kind of it's kind of crazy, right? It's gonna make you 2 mana. It's almost reliably gonna make you an extra 2 treasures each turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the very least one, but I think on average one and a half, right, per turn that it's out there. Um, I think it something that I think it also does that I try to always think about. It encourages good technical play, right? I
Hmm.
think that something I try to remind myself all the time is to sometimes like get your resources, right? Get your card draw, get your mana in place. Meaning, don't
Set up.
always, yeah, set up first. So don't always cast spells in that first main phase, right? Spending the time to go, okay, cool, like maybe do whatever you need to do, but then waiting to cast spells into that second main after you either get your Timna draws or whatever it may be, because like you don't want to be the person who goes, you get that card draw or whatever it is, and you go, damn it, I've already spent the mana, or damn it, like I've already put this many spells on the stack, and now I'm really vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
to a mind break trap because I'm now casting this much better spell as my third spell, right?
Yeah.
Like
No.
waiting to that second main phase to me has, and reminding myself to do that has been like really big in terms of like my growth. I read it somewhere for like
Sequencing.
60 card and sequencing, and it's been really, and I
Mana, yeah,
forget it every now and
mana
then.
management and sequencing. We get so excited in CEDH because we want to play these cool things and like win the game fast that sometimes we forget about that. Cool. My favorite point of yours was probably just like how many cards of the same archetype, like your last point. How many cards of the same archetype can you fit? And I didn't want to make it into like a this Knuckles versus PFP argument because I feel like you can play both of them in some decks, but in some decks maybe you can't. Maybe you can't afford that. I see the argument for it. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I see that it exists, if that makes sense.
No, no, for sure. It totally makes sense.
All right. All right, yeah. It's time. Did we do it? Are we going to make our patrons proud? Is Knuckles the Echidna a good card? And before you make this statement, cutting you off here, I'm going to read off some I Googled list of Knuckles the Echidna quotes. This is what came up from the Super Mario wiki from Mario and
Are you trying
Sonic
to
at the
sway
Olympic
me?
Games.
Go ahead.
Let's do this. Hoo-yah. How was that? That was my favorite one. And all of these have like little parentheses afterward that says when he says the thing. The heh heh. How was that? Quote after winning a round. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just had to read some of these. Is it a good card? Yes or no?
I feel like I could be bought here. If you could promise me that every time you play this from in the future, that you will quote a line, a rotating line from Knuckles the Echidna every time it hits the battlefield or it makes contact and does damage, dude, I'll sell my vote right now. But all that being said, I think this is a pretty good card. I think that it is still new enough that it's underexplored. I think that it can it does 4 damage, right? It's a 4 butt that does 4.
Heck yeah.
It makes 2. I think that something we didn't talk about is that these professional facebreaker and this probably should be played together, right? They make the mana, they kind of pay for themselves, and then now you have a menace attacker through professional facebreaker. You have a double striker through Knuckles, and so they're going to be generating you 3 probably each turn, which means that you're not only getting mana and resources, you're getting those cards. If that's where the game is, like you can sacrifice those treasures to professional facebreaker themselves. The two of them combined as like a standalone value engine, I think is really worth looking into. Yes, it's 7 mana, but it is 7 mana that is going to be refunded to you, and then you're going to get back later on. I think it's I think it's going to be really interesting to see. I'm playing it, right. I'm going to play it when I get a copy Friday. My copy's supposed to come in on Friday.
Score. Quote, winning a point in table tennis. That's what I got to say about that.
There you go.
All right. Lightning round. You want to throw some decks at me? Or you know what? I'll throw decks at you.
Yeah, sure.
Watch out. Watch your head. Blue farm.
I think so.
Scale of 1 to 10, yeah, lightning round.
Six, 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 six.
Whoa.
Seven, seven, seven,
Eight,
seven.
eight, 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 eight.
Now 7.
Oh, okay.
7.
7.
7.
Kenrith.
Six,
Just the
7.
slowest lightning round
7.
ever. Yeah,
7.
this one's got to be instant. Are you ready?
Hmm.
Krarksaka.
Wait, Quirk Saka. 4.
Yeah, that's about right.
You don't go to combat that
That's
often.
that's about right. Yeah, I know. All right, that's all we're doing for now.
Okay, good.
Dimna Dargo, 12.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Dihada, 12.
Oof, hot.
All right, listeners, it's time for that favorite closing segment of yours. At least I hope it is. That's a good card, question mark. If you haven't listened to us before, what we do in this segment is I'm going to give Ya the name of an obscure magic card, and it's going to be his job, as well as yours, the listener, to guess everything about that card. Color, type, text, flavor text, artwork, everything. All right, Ya, you ready for your card?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Your card is Disciple of Kangi, spelled Kangee.
Disciple of Kangi. This is a red green card.
Always multicolored card for
Definitely
Ya.
creature. Always for y'all. It's going to be one generic hybrid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Three mana. Okay, it's a
3
creature.
mana.
What did you say the type
Creature,
was?
disciple of it's a creature. Kangi, disciple of Kangi. I'm gonna say uh lizard person shaman. I don't know the
Lizard
name,
person
the Vorthos name
shaman.
for like some like it starts with like a V. I think there's
Oh,
like some lizard
Vishino?
type.
Vishino?
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be Vishino shaman.
Is that what it's called? Vaishino? I think it's Vaishino.
Vishino,
Yeah, it's Vaishino.
Vishino shaman. That's what this creature type is.
Okay. Okay. Well, the
It's
fact that
going
I had
to
to look it up
be
tells you something.
ooh, yep. It's gonna be a 1/3.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to have pay a hybrid mana, give target creature +0 +3.
Oh. The thickening.
The thickening, yeah. Yeah. And then the I gave you an ability, I gave you a creature type. I will now say the flavor text.
Okay.
Don't know why I said it like that.
Thank you for explaining that to us. I was so lost.
The flavor text will read, listen all who hear our voice. Shake and quiver at the sound of our approach. That is the approach of your demise. Vaishano Shaman Jeremy.
Jeremy. And what's the artwork?
Oh, it's going to be these lizard people,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
in robes, like kind of because they're like shamans,
Mm-hmm.
and they're riding these rhinos into battle.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Lizards
yeah,
riding rhinos. You heard it here, folks.
yes, right.
All right. Yeah,
That's
you're
the
really far
MTG I
off.
know. That's so far off. Go ahead.
Okay. Disciple of Gengi is a white card. It's two colorless and a
What?
white pip for a creature wizard. Eroded to human wizard, by the way.
Shaman's close.
It has an activated ability. So it's a 2/2. Activated ability
Mm,
is pay a blue pip and tap it. Target creature gains flying and becomes blue until the end of turn.
okay.
The flavor text reads, when no birds are available, Kengi's disciples fill the sky with anything that's willing to fight.
You know what?
And the
Go
artwork
ahead.
is a bird dude, not a lizard dude, a bird dude holding a staff and like pointing a magic hand at something that is now flying that looks like it shouldn't be flying, and it's a monster of some kind. I'll throw it up on the screen here. But nice try, yeah. I like that you tried to bring in the Vorthos and include it. You were completely wrong, but I like that you tried.
I want to say that if you are a believer, if you grew up watching Jurassic Park and you like Dr. Alan Grant, you too would believe that dinosaurs eventually became and evolved into birds. Thank you, Jurassic Park. That's all I'm going to
That's all
say.
okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
And that's how we're signing off.
That's how we're going to do it.
All right. Thank you, listeners, for listening to today's episode on Knuckles, the Echidna. Please direct your attention down below where you'll find links to all the places that we host the podcast: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And you'll find links to our Discord with our wonderful Tag C card recommendation channel. Hop in the clown car and throw in all your copium. And even join our Patreon to get access to our special secret patron channel for those at the That's a Great card tier. Shout out to all those great tier members. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye bye.